Okay, we need to be really clear about this before watching it, because yes, it is mind-blowing, it does look insane, but this isn't The Witcher 4 gameplay. It's a tech demo set in the world of The Witcher 4 to basically show what Unreal Engine 5 is capable of. See, back in 2022, CD Projekt Red joined up with Epic Games to develop new tools to enhance Unreal Engine 5 and improve its open world capabilities. And this is a demo of that work that they've done. This is going to be used as a basis for The Witcher 4 and also Cyberpunk 2. So yes, The Witcher 4 could indeed look like this when it releases. But CDPR have already confirmed that The Witcher 4 won't release until like 2027 earliest. So what we're seeing here is a bit like a vertical slice of the open world and what's possible with the new tools that they've developed for Unreal Engine 5. But let's just rein in the hype for a moment, because some of you might remember the 2013 tech demo of The Witcher 3, and then what we actually got 2 years later in 2015, and it looked very different. Now, The Witcher 3 was still a fantastic game, though it was very rocky at launch. And again, the same thing happened with Cyberpunk 2077. Again, they had this really cool preview, promised all these features, and then when the game actually came out, a lot of that stuff was missing, and a lot of people were upset by it. Now, I love CD Projekt Red and the games they make, and I will be the first person to fanboy over their games, but they have overpromised before. At least this time, they seem to have learned from their mistakes, and they were very clear about this being a tech demo and not The Witcher 4 gameplay. But apparently not clear enough, because half the internet is saying that this is not what the game's gonna look like, and they're right, it's not, but they kind of did say that. And there are some things we see in the demo here, which I'm just gonna straight up say, that's not gonna be in the final game, but we'll get to that. Sounds like a horse and cart. So you're awake. It's just gonna go into the Skyrim intro.
Sleep is he? The ploughing plonker. Break me pearlies on this blasted pit-ridden tract.
It looks like he's collecting something here, but I can't read the language. Just trying to cross the border into Skyrim.
The devil's out there! Running from!
It's even snowing. Oh, what the heck was that? That's a lot of coin. Oh my god. The lighting is insane. And this is all in engine. Is it a griffin? It's got like bat wings though. It's not even a cinematic, this is captured in-game. Oh, it's Ciri, okay.
Salt. Almost had me fooled, Fruin.
Oh, it's counterfeit. And the herd in the breath. So this is our first look at Kovir, where The Witcher 4 seems to be set. And you can see Lan Exeter in the background there. That's the capital city. And unlike most other places in the Witcher universe, mages are actually safe here. And I think there's like a quest in The Witcher 3 with Triss Merigold where she was trying to save some mages and take them here to the capital city. So she might even be in this game depending when it's based. Because obviously Ciri's looking a lot older now. And just the soundtrack as well is banging. This is running on the PlayStation 5. Not the Pro, just the base PlayStation 5.
This is a technological showcase set in the world of The Witcher 4. What you just saw and are going to see now is running on a standard PlayStation 5 at 60 FPS with ray tracing.
That's crazy.
So in the game, you'll be playing as Ciri, a professional monster slayer, a witcher. She explores the world and hunts down monsters for coin. The region we are in is called Kovir, and you'll get to explore it in the game. Right now, Ciri is investigating a monster, and after gathering new clues, she is heading.
Look at this. Look at the cloak here. The cloak doesn't clip through the swords on her back. It hits the material and responds to it. Also, as she's walking across the forest floor here, you can hear like the wet crunch of the crispy leaves and undergrowth, and just her two swords clanging together very subtly, which just gives you the immersive feeling of being in this world already.
Right now, Ciri is investigating a monster, and after gathering new clues, she is heading back to a nearby village.
Even the snow crunching too.
All right, everyone, meet Kelpie.
Let weeds be weeds, Kelpie.
Dude, the transition to the cinematic there is wild. Now we've got the depth of field and we zoom in, and it was like we went from gameplay to cinematic instantly.
Let weeds be weeds, Kelpie.
So just like Geralt had Roach, Ciri has her own loyal companion.
Wow.
We return to town.
These two characters need to feel like one. Since you're gonna explore the world on horseback, riding needs to feel seamless, natural, and just fun.
Yeah, and to support that, we're introducing multi-character motion matching in Unreal. So Ciri and Kelpie, they're perfectly synchronized when mounting from any angle and speed. And we also support root motion movement on Kelpie, so controlling her feels realistic and grounded.
I used to do a bit of horse riding, and it does look a lot more grounded. This horse does look a lot less floaty. It looks like it's actually hitting the ground, and you can feel its weight in how it's animated with almost like the muscles reacting.
And there are also some really nice improvements to our Unreal Chaos Flesh Solver and these machine-learned deformations. So you've got realistic muscles moving and stretching under Kelpie's skin without compromising the performance there.
What? Dude, that's wild. What the hell? It does look very realistic.
So let's leave Ciri behind for a second and talk about the world itself. So much of the Witcher world is natural, organic, especially Kovir with its dense forest and wild nature.
Yeah, and wild nature is hard. And with nanite geometry, we've freed artists from so many of their old constraints. But we don't want to rest until everything we do in Unreal has that same spirit of freedom. There's always more work to do. And foliage is a huge piece of that puzzle.
This reminds me, like, so when we were doing our Skyrim mod list, we just added so much foliage into the game, and it absolutely tanks your frame rate. But this is running at a clean frame rate on PlayStation 5. And it looks, you would never be able to do this in like Bethesda's creation engine. Not even in obviously Starfield was a space game, so there is no foliage at all. But you can't do this in other game engines. This would tank your frame rate. But with nanite technology, as I guess they're about to explain, my CPU is sweating at looking at this.
Foliage is a huge piece of that puzzle. So we are excited to introduce nanite foliage.
Yeah, look at that.
And in order to achieve gorgeous foliage density everywhere, while still being memory efficient, fast to render, we believe that a new idea was needed. So instead of the same...
Oh, look, there's a bear right here as well. What the heck? We haven't seen other animals yet, like animated in the environment, but it's walking across the river right here.
Fast to render, we believe that a new idea was needed. So instead of the same card approach we've been using for the past 20 years, artists should be free to take a nanite approach to foliage, modeling every single leaf and pine needle.
So when you zoom in, when he's close against the white sky just here, you can literally see the individual pine needles. And also it looks like the tree has its own skeletal frame because it's kind of like swaying organically in the wind. Like the main trunk is pretty sturdy, but then the leaves and branches move more freely because obviously they're lighter. But then, like, watch when it zooms out, it renders those pine needles differently.
And the old LOD tricks of the past, they needed a complete rethink. And in their place, it's a new adaptive voxel representation in Nanite. It's volumetric, it's fully 3D.
So this is how trees look like from a distance, which takes up a lot less performance than rendering individual pine needles.
Metric, it's fully 3D, it is super fast to render. And these dense clusters of triangles turn into these cubes, which at a distance, they're no larger than a pixel, and they react to the changing light of our dynamic sun and our shadows, and they allow artists to render whatever amount of foliage is needed to achieve their vision without compromise.
Dude, that's insane. If Skyrim had this, so if you played Skyrim, you know that the LODs can look kind of just like a distant picture almost. And then when you get closer, the game actually loads in the 3D environment. Well, this works with voxels, as you just saw. And if this was in Skyrim, this would look insane. The Elder Scrolls 6 isn't using this technology though, so I just do wonder how it's going to look. Because these distant environments just feel so real.
And they react to the changing light of our dynamic sun and our shadows, and they allow artists to render whatever amount of foliage is needed to achieve their vision without compromise.
It's just
And
bizarre.
no compromise means how ambitious we are when it comes to bringing our vision to life with incredible visuals. But more than that, together with Epic, we created faster way to load the world. We can now bring in more content more quickly for the smoothest possible experience as we fly down to catch up with Siri.
I still can't believe this is running on PS5. I think this is actually what next-gen games are going to look like though. Obviously we saw Unreal Engine 5 a few years ago, but now we're getting to the point where the developers are building the tools and partnership with CDPR to build the tools to make their games. And this is the result of it. This is the first next-gen game I've seen where I'm like, wow, this is next-gen. And obviously GTA 6 trailer looks amazing too. But now we're starting to see the power of the next-gen consoles, or the current gen. And again, the horse, you can hear, as the horse stepped on the stone there, you could hear the subtle metallic sounds of the horse shoe versus it standing on earth. Hear that? So there's little details.
Welcome to Valdrest. So Valdrest is a port town, a hub for fishing, trade and mining. It's one of those places where you can meet shady characters or overhear gossip from other lands. It's also where Ciri took on her current contract.
I'm noticing a little bit of pop in there as we're going from here into the town. If you look in the distance right here where my mouse is,
It's one of those places where
you see those NPCs just popping in right there? Obviously this is a tech demo, so you know the game is showcased to look as good as possible, but ultimately they're just showing off the tech that they're talking about and doing a walkthrough so people are excited for The Witcher 4. But this isn't what it's actually going to look like.
It's also where Ciri took on her current contract. High-tech, let's leave Kelpie here and explore the marketplace and food.
It's very densely populated, this area, isn't it?
I'm so excited we can finally show you some of this stuff. Let's see what Valdrest has to offer.
Not her again.
Okay, interesting. So the NPC's are actually reacting to Ciri. Kind of like we saw in the trailer, she's a witcher. Her presence is not tolerated by some.
Not even at the Land Exeter Fair! Now, I present him with a fish. For the furry rascal will often
Oh,
wait.
look. Oh, okay. So they've added this too. This is actually something I remember from like Assassin's Creed back in the OG game. Ashley comes up to these NPCs here. She kind of like touches them, but they're like physically present. So there's like an actual animation and they're moved out the way. Now, obviously this is a tech demo. We don't know if this will be in the actual game. Sometimes it's removed at launch. Like, do you remember how in Cyberpunk you could run on the walls using the mantis blades and like assassinate people from above? That obviously never made it to the final game. So stuff like this, that's really cool detail. I love to see it in the tech demo. Isn't necessarily representative of the final product.
The furry rascal will often wait. And the bear's weight grants good fortune. For this feat, I ask your generosity.
The pig rolling around in the mud.
Guys, notice
Oh.
how responsive the world is. Character actions directly affect what happens around you, sometimes even setting off chain
Dude, that's so she hits this guy. He literally throws all the apples
Guys.
out of his box. The chicken also fluttered away from Siri, and there's actual 3D apples on the floor here around her. And then, so this kid like literally turns around and reacts there, and runs over to the
character
apples.
actions directly
And if you look closely, you can see that kid right there picks up one of these apples in its
Affect
hand
what happens
and it
around-
puts it in its pocket, and the apple disappears. Now, one of the reasons Kingdom Come Deliverance and the second game was so successful is because the environment, it felt like it reacted to you as the player. This kind of stuff, though, I'm very suspicious about, because I don't think that this is actually real. I reckon this is scripted. You know, I don't think that every time I knock over someone carrying some produce like apples, and nearby children are going to run over like Gandalf with fireworks in The Lord of the Rings, you know? It's cool to see, but I'm not holding my breath for that to make it into the game.
around you, sometimes even
Wait, the pig is going over. The pigs are actually going over in there as well.
setting off chain reactions. Everything is working together.
Everything's working together. You're setting off chain reactions when you interact with the environment. That sounds really cool. I'd love for that to be true.
Oh, look at this poor gentleman being taught how to fly by an angry innkeeper. That's what happens when you cheat at Gwent.
Oh, he cheated at Gwent, did he? Oh no, we're gonna play Gwent. So this is just a big Gwent simulator.
Innkeeper.
But look at that, he actually splashes in this puddle here.
That's what-
No mud actually goes on his clothing though, just saying. I'm not being too picky because the game looks incredible, but we're gonna be collecting Gwent cards again. Imagine if the final boss of Gwent in The Witcher 4 is Geralt. How funny would that be? It's just Geralt in a little hut somewhere. But if you look here, Siri actually gives a coin to this guy right
Gentleman
here.
being taught
And
how
he
to
picks
fly.
it up there. That might be something you can choose to do as the player. Oh look, there's a one-legged veteran or something here.
Okay, so this is the guy who gave the series the quest his own. Like you probably suspect, he has his own agenda in all of this.
You off your tits again, Wilfred.
That was cool. So I don't know if you guys realized that. The camera zoomed out here, and then as we approach this quest giver, it zooms in and the camera kind of locks onto him, and there's a story about to unfold. It's a very natural way to draw the player into a cinematic.
Like you probably suspect, he has his own agenda in all of this.
You off your tits again, Wilfred. Get your ass up.
Oh wow.
A typical day's toil.
Who in?
So you can see right there, we just transitioned to the cinematic right there. That was so smooth.
Toil.
Who in? Witcheress. What news of my wagons? No eternity is taking that damn salt to arrive.
I found them. And, well, suffice to say, they'll not reach you. As for the salt, I found not one speck. I presume this comes as no surprise to you. Now. Kavir's smuggling trade is of no concern to me.
Shush, shush, shush.
The mantle.
One of the things I really enjoy about CDPR is their quest delivery and how they just don't, like, the player isn't stupid. He probably told her that he was trading salt and it had gone missing, but clearly there was a lot of counterfeit coins in there. So she's trying to like hush it up now. But that's never like directly said to the player, but obviously you wouldn't leave all that coin lying on the floor, would you, unless it was counterfeit.
The manticore that flattened your cart and devoured your men. Quite the opposite.
Manticore? No, them winged hellspawn dwell in the arse end of Creighton. Not here.
While Siri decides what to do about that merchant, let's take a look at the character technology that powers this marketplace. Why don't we listen in on these fishmongers? They're selling their wares, chatting up customers.
Morning, catch this is. Won't find none fresher.
Rugged me ladies after one of them.
Curse. Get this cleaned and gutted for you. You mind, dearest? Into seeing something more. Got mackerel cod, all Brexit's finest.
And they
There's stuff like this where I remember, like, you know, the first time you walk into a town in Skyrim and you see all these scripted interactions. I don't think they're gonna like play out this scene every time the player goes to the village. Obviously this is like a voice acted thing that's been put on for the tech demo. I don't think they're actually gonna have all these interactions, but it'd be cool at least like if the animations are there and people look like they're doing stuff that you would do in a market. Kind of like in Kingdom Come Deliverance, you know, people actually washing their clothes and living their day-to-day lives make it seem realistic. So I'm always apprehensive when I see stuff like this.
And there is tons of tech at play here, even in the simple market stall. Metahuman tools, improved Unreal Smart Objects, Chaos Cloth, and more.
Yeah, and all of this exists to make sure that the gap in quality between Ciri and NPCs is as small as possible.
Yeah, and closing that gap, it's not just about fidelity, right? But also...
That's also another thing, like he puts the fish there, the fish stays there. Other guy picks it up, puts it in the basket. Just ridiculous levels of details, isn't it?
It's not just about fidelity, right? But also authenticity. They should react to changes in the world around them.
But the prisoner in Pillory isn't exciting enough for Valdrest. Let's grab everyone's attention with a circus.
Okay. So all the NPCs actually started gathering around it though.
But the great performance deserves a huge crowd though. Let's crank it up.
Okay, so they've spawned some people in here, which actually looks cool that there's this many people on screen. But you can still see there's an interaction here going on. Those people haven't left the marketplace despite this performance. So the NPCs, I guess, like, there'll just be more NPCs there if there's a performance. Whereas, for example, if like a village is attacked by dragons in Skyrim, people will run away and flee, or they'll come and join in a fight. I don't know how, like, if I just start a fight in the town square right now, how do all these people react? Like, I'm curious about that kind of thing, where if I do something, what happens? Because I know this is just a tech demo, you know, we don't know if this is actually how the game will be or what.
So you are seeing tons of optimizations here to many of Unreal systems, including an entirely new Unreal animation framework, allowing us to fit easily in our 60 FPS budget, not just in rendering, but also with room to spare on the game thread. Over 300 animated skeletal mesh agents all going about their business.
Has their own, like, a lot of these people have like pathing, cycles, and things that they're doing. They've got this one little NPC might walk around here in a circle or something like that. They'll have things that they're doing. And all of that at once puts such a toll on the performance. So having that is just crazy. And also love the town design, by the way. Like, and there's like a bridge there behind my face camera where people are even looking down on the performance.
And the whole point is to leave breathing room for developers like you to introduce the gameplay and the systems that your players expect, empowering you to make your worlds come to life without Unreal standing in your way.
You are right. That's the open world RPG that we're making. But before we wrap up, how about one final check-in with Ciri?
So all this is going on in the background while you're like all the way down here. Also, boating confirmed again. I reckon that's going to be a big thing. You can probably go underwater and swim like in Witcher 3. I really enjoyed finding the treasures underwater and getting around via boat. So pretty sure that's going to be in the game.
We are making this game to be the most immersive and ambitious open world Witcher game ever. And we are making this a reality thanks to our work on Unreal with the team at Epic. I think what we are doing together is going to bring in a new generation of open world RPGs, and I'm so proud of what we accomplished so far.
We are too.
Because damn, could you imagine, like, I love The Witcher, don't get me wrong, but I keep thinking, this is just the tech they're developing in line with CDPR. Imagine another IP in this game world. Imagine Lord of the Rings in this kind of environment where you're just, you know, remember Lord of the Rings Return of the King? Like, just put it in this game and you're doing the exact same quests and everything, you know, in this kind of open world environment with no loading screens. We haven't seen a single loading screen yet, which is just wild. Honestly, like, it blows my mind. I keep pausing just to sort of stare at the details.
So we're almost done, but before we go, here's a small gift for all Witcher fans.
Okay.
a first look at Lanexeter.
Oh, there's the Manticore. Dude, that's
On
sick.
with what?
They're absolutely blue-balling me, the fact I've not seen any combat yet. Like, the tease is unreal. Unreal Engine. He said the word. But that's not it, because they do reveal even more technology coming to Unreal Engine and go into even further detail about that tech.
An open world like that was just the perfect content to focus on our main goal for the release, which was performance. We want the engine to scale to large and rich worlds. We want to preserve graphics quality.
Wait, was
And
that
of course-
YouTube or did it actually stutter? What the hell? They're talking about performance and then we get the Unreal stutter.
And rich worlds. We want to preserve graphics
That
quality.
must be, was that the stream? Like, I don't know.
And of course, we want to deliver high frame rates that you and your players expect. So let's check it out, starting with rendering. If you all remember, when we released Nanite with UE5, it supported static geometry. Last year, we brought skinning to Nanite. And now, we're working on Nanite Foliage. The only way to have a forest that looks as good as this one is to use 3D geometry for all parts of the trees,
Yeah.
just like we do for everything else. However, this is a crazy amount of fine geometry. So we had to rethink how trees are created and displayed. To create them, we developed Nanite assemblies.
Oh, wow.
These 28 little parts that you see are all that we use to build all the spruces from the forest.
So it takes up a lot less memory, I guess, if you're just using the same jigsaw pieces to put together all these varieties of trees.
For instance, thousands of time and use like building blocks to assemble trees in different ways.
That's clever.
And as you probably noticed with the wind effect, they even support skeletal animation, which runs on the GPU. Thanks to assembly, we greatly reduce the storage, the runtime memory, and the rendering cost. Then,
That's good.
to display an entire forest, the challenge was to preserve fidelity and performance from any distance. Let's check up close the level of detail we're talking about here. Lots of details.
Yeah.
But this triangle representation is not the most efficient when far away, due to the amount of overlapping. And that's why we made an adaptive voxel representation. But in reality, you'll never see those voxels this close, since when we move the camera back, they're barely a pixel. Nanite Foliage is almost done.
It's like going all the way back to when the trees were just like 2D images that used to turn, so you're always looking at the picture but never like side on. I don't know. Probably getting a bit old now, I guess.
We are moving it to the mainline as we speak, and it will be available for everyone in 5.7.
Wow.
Another thing I would like to share is that ray tracing and Lumen now run more than twice as fast, with no visual trade-off compared to when UE5 was released.
Twice
And because
as
of
fast?
that, we can now hit 60 FPS on consoles.
So he does say we can now hit 60 FPS, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be running at a consistent 60 FPS. Again, I will believe it when I see it.
Now let's talk about chaos physics.
That sounds fun.
For chaos cloth, we improve our cloth-to-cloth constraint solution. This removes a lot of collision evaluation when garments are piling up and interacting with each other. Even for complex setup like Seriescape, we hit a sub-millisecond budget on PS5. With Chaos Flesh, we introduce procedural muscle activations to make deformation and motion more natural. Your artist will still have control over tetrahedral simulation and train ML models that run fast in real time.
My God.
We now support the baking of fluid surface data into lightweight assets to be played back at low cost. This is going to give you high-fidelity water without the performance.
Oh, they move the rock and the water starts going around the rock. It's just so clever.
And cost of real-time fluid simulation. For animation, you can see how Siri and Kelpie match up in their interaction. Well, that works no matter the angle of approach. That's our multi-character motion matching solution.
Wow.
We also added motion matching in Sequencer to build stitch tracks. With them, you can seamlessly transition from gameplay to cinematic.
That was really clever, and I think actually in so many games that's going to work flawlessly.
We now have a secondary layer of animation driven by physics in Control Rig. We used it in Kelpie's rig to drive the mane, the tail, and the saddlebacks.
Yeah, blimey.
And now, I'm happy to announce that all these features are already integrated into our new Unreal Animation framework, which we are releasing as experimental in 5.6. We built it with performance first in mind. Animation evaluation are now running in parallel off the game thread, which was our bottleneck. And for the other character systems that are just as costly, like movement, avoidance, state tree behaviors, we also move them to worker threads. This is really going to help you create scenes that are crowded and lively.
You know, obviously it's cool that there's a crowd there, but like when you have all of the other aspects of the game actually running, like the full game, and you have combat and other situations like that, it's like, is it still going to be that smooth? Is it going to hit 60 FPS in combat in a crowded scene like that? We just don't know. And I think really it's the gamers that actually matter when it comes to this. If a gamer picks up your game and doesn't run well, then it doesn't, like, you're not going to develop your game on Unreal Engine, are you? So I think that's, time will tell.
Streaming has always been a big deal regarding performance. And the three biggest improvements we made are physics state creation, which now runs async, improve runtime PCG for ground scatter on GPU, and a new FastGeo plugin to stream static geometry.
Wow.
And just to take a different example, in CitySample, the streaming time was cut down by 90% while moving at high speed. We focus on a lot of areas for performance in 5.6.
We know that Cyberpunk 2 is also going to use Unreal Engine 5 as well as Witcher 4. So seeing it work in both instances, it really makes sense that CDPR are working with them to create something that works with their games, and hopefully building it from the ground up like that is going to mean that it does a good job. Now they also do talk about MetaHuman as well, which is the facial animations we saw for Ciri and how they made those look more realistic. I think Ciri looks pretty damn cool. She looks like a gritty Witcher, like how you'd expect someone who lived in this kind of environment, living on the road, battling monsters on the daily. She looks very realistic, pretty raw. So I actually kind of like how they've done her. Everything about this looks amazing. Obviously, it's got me excited. How can you not look at this and be excited? But I stand by all the things I said of, yeah, like, well, you know, when I actually get a hands-on sesh on this in a few years' time, it's going to be really curious to see what part of these are scripted, you know, and there's no problem with it being scripted, but I just think be honest about it. I mean, the game already looks incredible. So yeah, I'm excited to see what the game's like. Subscribe for more coverage of it in the future, and I'm going to cross my fingers because so far so good, and hopefully they'll just keep transparent about, you know, what's going to be in the game and what's in the tech demo, and they don't oversell it. I think they need to be careful about this time, because a lot of people lost trust with Cyberpunk and Witcher 3 even back then. So I just don't want to see them make the same mistake, because I really want to see the franchise grow and do really well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.